Hey YouTube, welcome back. In today's video, we're going to be talking about how I conduct myself during a police traffic stop. But before we get started, I'd like to take a moment to ask you to please hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. And also, before we get started, I just want to state that this is my understanding and I am not a lawyer. With that being said, I do have a great team of attorneys, though. I'm just sharing how I personally handle a traffic stop, so always do your own research and check the laws in your local area and consult your own attorney or team of attorneys. I rarely get pulled over because I drive the exact speed limit. Ugh, other drivers can get so mad at me and start flailing their arms around, but I ignore them and I keep driving and listening to my music and just let the speed demons whiz on by. But when I do get pulled over, the first thing I do is I immediately ask the police officer, do you want to have an easy day or do you want to have a hard day? I am totally joking. No, I don't do that. I was pulled over by the local sheriff's department for flashing my lights to warn another driver of a speed trap. Don't worry, I'm not in any legal trouble at all at this time, and I have no charges or cases pending against me. I was not helping a dangerous driver because the place where the speed trap was at is pretty weenie. They like getting easy tickets, one after the other, so it makes them look like they did something super productive during their shift and make easy money for the county. There's this particular place that they like to park where the speed limit is ridiculously slow, and they'll get people for going like 35 and a 25. Meanwhile, people are treating other nearby streets like the Indianapolis 500, doing 75 or more in a 45. The speeders are out of control in the city where I live. Well, it just so happens that flashing your lights has been ruled by the Supreme Court to be protected free speech. Therefore, I got wrongly pulled over for exercising my right to free speech. Now, the laws do vary from state to state on light flashing, but due to the Supreme Court's ruling, it's fairly safe to say that outdated municipal ordinances don't hold much water in court, and the judge may very well likely find no probable cause for a traffic stop when they use that as a reason to pull you over. Hopefully, case dismissed. But how do I personally conduct myself on a traffic stop? I very politely exercise my rights. I produce my driver's license, my insurance, and I'll even exit the car if I'm asked to. As a courtesy, I also roll all four of my windows down so that they can see into my car as they approach, and I turn on my dome light if it's nighttime. They appreciate that, and I am much safer too. I also keep both hands on the steering wheel, and I don't even reach into my pocket for my license until I am asked to do so. Then when I'm asked, I say, okay, my license and registration is in my wallet, so can I reach into my back pocket to get it? Zero attitude, just polite, but shrewd business. I very politely decline to answer any questions. There aren't any innocent, oh, we're just talking, questions. When questions seem innocent enough, most cops are just trying to get a baseline to see how you answer them so that Pandora's box can open. Where are you coming from? Where are you headed? I say, I'm a free citizen just out for the day running errands. If they push the issue, I may say when asked, where am I headed or where am I going with, where are you going, where are you headed today? That way. Where are you coming from? That way. If we answer seemingly innocent questions and then stop answering questions when they get to a particular question, they can and will assume the answer. So just politely decline to answer any questions at all and stick to the business of the traffic stop. That's what I do. And if they ask if I know why they pulled me over, I let them tell me. Otherwise, they will use my words in court as I admitted it. They're trained to trick us into getting us to do their job for them, but are they going to share their paycheck with us? No, no, they're not. They can get quite irritated when I ask if I'm being detained or if I'm free to leave. It's like, am I being detained or am I free to leave? They might even say, "Stop asking. I already told you. Stop asking." I'm free to ask as many times as I want politely, and they're free to say no. They don't want you to know that it's turned into a consensual encounter at a certain point because they like to trick you. So I always keep asking at reasonable intervals, and I make them tell me, "You are not free to leave." The reason they don't like being asked is because they are required by law to only keep you there for a reasonable amount of time to conduct the business of the traffic stop unless they can keep you there talking in a consensual conversation or if they have probable cause. So they can trick us and are legally allowed to lie to us. I can tell you they are not going to search my car without a warrant. It's not that I'm doing anything wrong at all, but I don't want to have my rights violated or my car scratched. They can be pretty rough with stuff and will often tear up somebody's car. Even though I don't drink alcohol at all, I don't answer the question, "Have you had anything to drink today?" Nor do I perform field sobriety tests on the side of the road, as it is not legally required to perform those field sobriety tests. So many people answer the classic when they asked, "Have you had anything to drink today?" "Oh, I only had one or two beers earlier." Well, that answer, "I only had one or two beers earlier," just gave them probable cause to start a DWI investigation out of your own mouth. Actually, they already have a pretty good idea of whether or not you're going to be arrested for DWI before they ask you to perform the field sobriety tests. So if you've been drinking, they're just having you help them build a better case for court against you, even though you think that you might pass. The truth is, sobriety tests are not pass or fail, but they are built to help them articulate your little mistakes and interpret them as observing intoxication. I can't perform a field sobriety test perfect even though I'm completely sober, and even more so with quick, cranky instructions on an uneven road with traffic going by. There's a lot of distractions. Even if a person is drunk, refusing to perform the tests will not hurt them any further in court and will always be used against them. Always remember, it's not your job to help the police gather evidence against you for court, and many people have talked their way right into a jail cell. The police officers have practiced the tests so many times over and over and over, but you were taken by surprise. It took them a long time to master them, but they'll gaslight you for making a little mistake while they're throwing a bunch of precise technical instructions at you. Remember, I'm autistic and I have ADHD. Sprinkle in my executive function challenge with puzzles, and they can frame that in a manipulative way to make me look bad, even when I'm not doing anything wrong at all. I will also never blow into the little handheld machine that they produce on the side of the road, even though I'm sober, because those little machines are not certified, nor are they admissible in court. I mean, who knows how accurate it is? If I'm arrested and taken to a calibrated, certified machine at the station, I will blow, because I did agree to that when I got my driver's license. But never on the uncertified portable machines on the side of the road. Again, it's not that I have anything to hide, it's just that I know my rights. Now, I personally believe that there should be zero tolerance for any amount of alcohol consumption when driving, but they're the ones that set the standard at 0.08 as long as a person is 21 years of age or older. So with that in mind, always ask for a blood draw as well, because you have the right to have that blood draw. They're aware that the breath tests measure alcohol content indirectly and estimate what the body has already processed and is coming out of your breath. Again, what's coming off your breath has already been processed by the body, and they can estimate it pretty close, but will usually, when done by breath, show up just a little bit higher than a direct method of what's actually in your body via blood levels. So if it's close, you may be just under the legal limit by direct blood measuring versus being just over the legal limit by indirect breath measuring. Again, I am not endorsing drinking and driving as I hate alcohol and the way it makes people act, just exposing how law enforcement tactics can be manipulative. Also, always get a second independent blood test too, which is your right. Because if you take medication, they can say they found this or that in your system. If you get an independent blood draw, you can assure that they can measure the level of medication that's in your bloodstream rather than it just being there. So when you go to court, your attorney can point out that it was within your prescribed therapeutic level rather than just saying it's positive. Hopefully, it would be the case dismissed, but you never know because court is a chess game. But you always want to have the very best chance, and your attorney will love you for it. Cannabis use, that's a tricky little booger when it comes to DUI, as cannabis is stored in the body's fat. The THC is stored in the body's fat. A person can be completely sober, but have cannabis in their blood at higher levels in the days following than what was actually in their blood when they were actually stoned, even though it is completely inactive in the body and the mind. So blood measurements are highly inaccurate. You got to have a very smart and savvy attorney to educate the judge during court, as a prosecutor will just say, well, we found it in the blood, not knowing if it was in the, from today or from like 3 days ago. They know this too, but they often hide that, hoping that your attorney and yourself didn't eat Wheaties for breakfast that day. Also, just know that they also often like to ask your passengers for ID too. They are legally allowed to ask a passenger for ID, but the passenger can say, no thank you. They love to say, you got ID on you? They need reasonable, articulatable suspicion or probable cause that a crime has been committed or is in the process of being committed to require a person to show ID unless you agree to show them willfully. They weren't the one pulled over for a traffic violation, they being your passenger. Your passenger wasn't pulled over for a traffic violation as they were not driving the car that was pulled over. The police officer took an oath when they got their badge and were sworn in to uphold the Constitution and to protect your rights. But they often think that they can trick you right out of your rights. They might even gaslight you and say, oh, we have another sovereign citizen here. No, just a law-abiding American citizen that knows his or her constitutional rights. Here's another very important tip that I like to do when I'm interacting with police. Always video record your encounters with police so that you have your own copy. They may try and gaslight you by saying something along the lines of, you don't need to record because I have my body camera on. I always respond when they say that. I say, oh good, that's awesome. We'll have 2 copies. Sometimes their video can be lost or partial or no audio, or they may take their sweet time producing the public record, so I always like to have my own copy as well. They often hate that. Well, too bad. I recently watched a video of a U.S. veteran who was traveling across the country with his family with all of their belongings because they were in the process of moving to another state. The officer asked if he could search the vehicle voluntarily. And the veteran, who had nothing to hide, said, yes, absolutely, please feel free, search my vehicle. And even answered all their questions and admitted to having his life savings with him. Well, the cop thought that the large of money that the family had on them was suspicious. So it was seized via civil assets forfeiture with absolutely zero evidence of a crime or drugs being found. Being suspicious, by their definition or any definition, is not a crime. But they seized the family's life savings anyways and left them without money for food or gas while they were traveling across country. Don't answer questions is the lesson to be learned here. Now, the family did eventually get their money back, but it was a long, expensive legal process, and they were left without, money for food or gas while they were, moving across country. The guy had his wife and his kid with him. They left him without money for lunch. Unbelievable. Oh, well, you better believe it. It can and it does happen to innocent people a lot. There are a lot of videos on YouTube about that, and actual videos and case outcomes and everything. It happens a lot, unfortunately. In conclusion, it's always important to know your rights, as many veterans died so that you can have these rights as a free citizen. So don't let someone trick you out of them on the side of the road. Again, people, veterans, have lost life and limb for you to have those rights. So let your freedom not be in vain. Don't lose your freedom because some jerk tricked you out of it on the side of the road. You can drive away free after the stop, and the cop can go see if he or she can find some other sucker. Even if they do arrest you, make your attorney's job easy by being polite and not resisting in any way, shape, or form so that it can be won in court. Arguing or fighting on the side of the road will not end well for you, so save it for court and fight for your rights the right way. Also, you are not under oath on the side of the road to tell the truth, but lying to a cop will make you look bad in court, so it's just better to not answer questions politely. Your attorney will love you, and the cop may just very well be frustrated. It seems to be rare and far between these days when a law enforcement officer actually has our best interests in mind on a traffic stop. Thank you for watching. Please hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, and I hope to see you in the next video. Have a great day, people.